my daughter was born, she was very, very special to me, very precious. Coming from an alcoholic family, I've seen a lot of pain and a lot of heartaches, I didn't want her to go through that. So out of that, my husband and I, we quit drinking. And then when my grandson was born, then we decided that we're going to clean our home, we're going to clean our lives and have a healthy lifestyle for the young little one that has entered in our family. And he's the only one, the very first one in our family that has seen nothing of alcoholism in our home. And to me, that's a big thing. I succeeded as a grandma and also for my daughter.
If you know you are pregnant, or if you are having unprotected sex and may become pregnant, stop drinking alcohol. If you are drinking alcohol during pregnancy, there is a disease your fetus, your unborn child, can get. The disease is for life, and it may get worse as your child ages. Nothing can cure it. Only you can stop it from happening. Listen to these stories. My daughter Brenda, she's 7, and she was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. She was under 5 pounds when she was born. The operating room reeked of alcohol. The hospital couldn't believe the amount of strength she had. These kids have struggled their whole life. They fought in the womb, and they continue to fight now. And they even have to fight harder because people don't understand what FAS is. So there's a lot of ignorance around that. I think this is one of the reasons why our family has chosen to take the path in teaching others on what FAS is. For any parent, most pregnancies are not planned. Alcohol is there, and what do? You have alcohol, and then you go and have sex. People, for some reason, they just don't want to connect it.
Alcoholism has been known for many years, and the effect it has on the body itself. It is only recently that the health professionals have become more aware of what the alcohol does to a fetus. It's very new. It is affected because it's one circulatory system. And it's not necessarily that the mother is an alcoholic. In some cases, very little alcohol can do a lot of damage.
Do you have any more suggestions?
With women who are pregnant or women who are deciding to become pregnant, I would share with them how alcohol affects the fetus and the damage that can be done to that fetus.
When you look at the phrase, it takes a whole community to raise a child, we look at the entire community when we do prevention. Because the woman is pregnant, she can no longer drink, so I think that it's the man's responsibility to abstain as well, to show support for her.
The baby who's been affected by alcohol, you can see that the eye placement is fairly far apart when you look at the two.
Fetal alcohol syndrome, or FAS, is caused by women consuming alcohol during their pregnancy. Fetal alcohol syndrome affects the brain and the central nervous system of an unborn child. The alcohol passes directly through the placenta into the fetus. Whenever the pregnant woman drinks alcohol, that very moment, whatever part of the fetus is developing will be damaged by the alcohol. The brain, heart, lungs, face, limbs, or any part of the developing fetus. There's no safe amount of alcohol that you can drink. Any alcohol can damage cells that are developing. So you will see differences in children, and you can't label all children in the same way. It depends on many things, including when the woman drank alcohol. When a newborn baby has fetal alcohol syndrome, there are certain characteristics you can see. Low birth weight, under 5 pounds, facial disfigurement, smaller head, wide set eyes, smaller eye openings, flat mid-face, low nasal bridge, ears lower on head, mouth and teeth problems, no groove under the nose, thin upper lip, cleft palate, short neck, disfigured toes, fingers, or nails.
Look at my bumpers over there. Ready? Ha! Get some grass.
I have 7 children. I have 6 kids at home right now. 4 of them have been diagnosed with FAS. My daughter Brenda, she's 7. Brenda came to us at 2 weeks. My son is 12 and he has been diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. It's a lifelong sentence to a disability that can be prevented.
FAE is fetal alcohol effects, another alcohol-related disorder caused by pregnant women drinking alcohol. Some of the characteristics are the same as fetal alcohol syndrome, but it's harder to detect because they don't have always the physical predominant features as a FAS child would have.
FAE is a lot harder to diagnose. Therefore, it's harder on the child because the adults around the child tend to blame the child's behavior, their upbringing, not knowing that it is FAE. That child is not treated. Many times they're considered stupid, but they're not. It is an illness that they have. That child needs assistance.
When an infant or toddler has fetal alcohol syndrome or fetal alcohol effects, they face a lot of potential challenges. Brain and organ damage, weak immune system, frequent illnesses, slow growth, vision and hearing problems, eating and digesting problems, developmental delays, hypersensitivity to light, noise, and pain, screaming and crying, erratic sleep patterns, seizures, speech delays.
At 7 months, she started having seizures. She had about 12 seizures in a 24-hour time space, and we didn't know what was going on. It was like a short in an electrical circuit, and that part of the brain hadn't grown properly. So anytime that, she was overstimulated, she would have a seizure. So we had to really be careful on the sound and the music and people's voices and that. And she was hypersensitive, so anytime she got something on her hands, she would shake. So a needle at the doctor's can be extremely painful for a child that has FAS. If something hot to us could feel cold to her, she can run out buck naked in the winter and not realize her body doesn't respond to the temperature. And we had a hard time making people understand what FAS was. And we still struggle with the school system, hospitals, doctors. People really don't understand the impact on a family, on a child.
We have a lot of family physicians, caregivers, health care providers that are not really aware of FAS, FAE, so our families and children are falling through the gaps because the awareness isn't there. To get a diagnosis, an early diagnosis for FAS, FAE is very difficult because a specialist needs to do this. It's hard to get access to that expertise within Canada.
I couldn't imagine being a mom and with all her outrageous kind of behaviors and how developmentally delayed she is, if I didn't know what FAS is, I didn't know how I'd deal with it. I would be probably blaming myself as a parent, but knowing what she has, then I'm able to assist her.
In early diagnosis, it's very helpful for the families to be able to learn how to cope. Part of the early diagnosis is providing education and coping skills for the families to be able to be aware of what to expect. The extended family has to be involved, the community care people, teachers, police, any of the service providers in the communities, they have to be aware. Healthcare providers especially, because in the long run, they're the ones that have contact with the families when that child needs medical attention.
Some moms don't want to talk about FAS, FAE, and communities don't want to talk about it because then it's a blaming and shame that's associated with this. Communities don't want to bring it out in the open that there is a problem with alcohol. We as First Nation women can break this cycle by admitting that we have a problem and by supporting our sisters out there that we see that are drinking, not judging them, but being there for them and loving them for who they are. The FAS and FAE school-age child faces new challenges as they grow. Small physique, mental, physical, and speech delays. Poor coordination, or they may be strong or athletic, hyperactive. Poor comprehension, short attention span, can't focus, impulsive, no fear of danger. Learning disabilities, problems with math, reading, and memory. Difficulty telling right from wrong. No boundaries.
Well, we used to call her Danger Baby. Sticking her head in the washing machine to see it go down. She used to give herself little swirlies in the toilet. She'd put her head in the toilet and flush because she liked the sound. You know, she runs away and she has no boundaries. She's very impulsive. So if she sees something across the street, she's already across the street before she's even looked.
But I think the gift of laughter and just her enthusiasm for life. She lives in the moment and she's very loving. She likes to hug and tells you if you walk outside and you come back in, you can be gone 5 minutes. She runs to you and hugs you like you've been gone for a week. So
she's so full of love and the gift of accepting everybody around her. She's taught me so much. And with FAS children, they have good days and bad days. And there's many times when my son would come home and he would just cry because he was so frustrated and he was so overstimulated. And couldn't understand why he would get in trouble. It's not that they won't, it's they can't, and their brain works differently. A lot of times with overstimulation, what they're hearing is maybe one to three of the words. Like if the teacher's talking, they're hearing, well, could, you, I, up, there.
It's hard to concentrate, then it's hard to just do your work. It's like you do something else besides your work.
With my son, he's very impulsive and he's a follower, but there's a lot of things that he's really strong in. He's an amazing, incredible artist. He's like the little protector of the house. I know Brenda's safe when he's with her because he's constantly watching. He's very caring and understanding. Without early intervention or without a diagnosis, an FAS child's looking at disruption in school, trouble with the law, trouble with drugs and alcohol, possibly sexually or physically abused, will get kicked out of school, can't keep a job.
In 1964, Bob and Mildred Cowie adopted twins from another reserve. Paul and Julie were just 27 months old. There was nothing said about the twins having fetal alcohol syndrome, but Bob and Mildred knew there was something wrong. There were physical and mental disabilities, illness, behavior problems, and trouble with the law. Because no one knew of FAS, the twins did not have the benefit of an early diagnosis. When Julie became pregnant with her first child, Angela, she could not care for her. Bob and Mildred became Angela's full-time caregivers. A few years later, Julie gave birth to a second child, Daniel. He was also adopted by his grandparents. Both grandchildren have fetal alcohol effects characteristics. They have not been medically diagnosed.
Bob's done a wonderful job raising them. They're two lucky kids to have a grandpa like him. I'm a personal support worker. I come into the home 15 hours a week. I've kind of adopted the family. So I've known Bob and the kids, Mildred. I grew up in Hiawatha, so.
You're cheating Anne's telling Daniel what to do?
Well, I don't want Grandpa to win.
Exactly.
I keep them organized. Make sure Daniel's papers are signed and all of his needs for school is met. And the doctors have never told Bob, I don't think that's what they've been diagnosed with, fetal alcohol, but they have all the characteristics of all the learning and all those things that go along with it. And we want to know, I guess, really what they're capable of doing. We don't want to push them to where that they're going to fail, because that's not good for them.
You ever get some ticked off when I play with my Game Boy every morning? He goes, turn on that goddamn Game Boy.
That's when you're not getting ready for school, right? When I first came into the picture with the two children, Daniel needed a lot of speech therapy. Of course, he got teased and he didn't know why he didn't fit in, and all those problems came along with it. So there was a lot of behavior problems. So Bob's wife had talked a lot about Daniel going to 5 counties and how much he got from it, because all the kids were the same. They were all his friends, and he fit in, and he learned how to speak, and he just thrived.
You watch the TV?
He still has the challenges of his attention. He can't concentrate on his schoolwork and learning disabilities.
I know how to do these puzzles better than you. They're my puzzles.
Them white streaks goes on the edge.
Angela functions fairly well at school. She has her own group of friends. Her programs at school, they're modified for her.
One thing about Anna is if she gets her mind made up to do something, she can do it. I got lots of faith in her doing that. But when she gets married with 6 kids, she'll be picking things up.
6 kids? How many do you think a woman can take? Not that many nowadays.
What, 50?
When Anne started grade 9, they had a modified program for her, and then they put her up to general level. But that didn't pan out so well. She ended up being challenged with that and then failing. So then that was not very nice for her. She has mood swings and a lot of anger that she doesn't know how to deal with. So that takes a lot of talking to her and, calming her down. I don't think any of us know why she just takes these, fits, and she has a good home and she's loved, and we're hoping she can go to college. We're hoping to push as much as she can give and see if that's what she's capable of doing.
He's really nice, and he's like always there for us, even if we are like pains. We have our little family downs, like every family does, but we've pulled together really since Grandma had passed away. We pulled together a lot more.
When Mildred passed away, they thought that because Bob was an older gentleman, couldn't look after these 2 kids, and we're like, whoa, you can't do this. This is where these kids belong. And thank God we had chief and council, and everybody stepped in and said, no, that's, you're not doing this. And it worked out for the best for the children and for Bob. They keep him going.
Oh, look at this. Look at this professional here.
He has a reason to get up in the morning, and so it's been good for everyone, I guess, that they're here in this community.
A big part of our way of life is that we look at our community as everybody having a role to play, and not one parent is responsible. It takes a whole community to raise a child. I think we have to all work together as leaders, as members of our communities, and share that with other communities and other nations across Canada, so that everyone is aware and knows the complications of drinking and being pregnant.
It's the whole community, the whole nation that takes responsibility to raise that child.
The woman is very important in life. We're the ones who carry the babies. We also could be chiefs. So this song, it's for the woman and for all the female species on earth. The woman stands.
The traditional approach to healing someone, you have to heal the whole person. You have to heal them in mind, in spirit, in body. And you also have to ensure that the environment that they live in is healthy. If you want your people to practice sobriety, the leaders have to practice it as well. Set an example through role modeling. I think we also have to begin the education system very early about the effects of fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal alcohol effects.
Getting FAS and FAE out in the open and educating communities, grandmothers, grandfathers, our parents, the mothers, the fathers, the chief, the council, is very important because it gives support to those families that need it, and also it looks at preventing further alcohol-associated illness. We really need to bring it out in the open. Let's talk about it. Let's do something about it in a good way, in a positive way, because it can be 100% preventable.
I would like to show people how I actually am, show them what I'm really like, and then maybe they would change like how they think. Like, cause like I'm different, and then other people judge me by that.
So this is the real Jeffrey right here.
I think it was the checkerboard here that I like doing the most, because it took me the longest to do.
You've got some very strong spots, but then you've got, maybe this is about you, you have some very soft sides, very delicate parts in your picture as well.
That's me.
Many of our young people with special needs have a really difficult time being accepted by the community, by schools, even by members of their own family. And this is a tragedy. Myself, I have a child with physical disabilities, so I know how hard it is for parents to cope with some of these problems. But as a teacher, it enriches all of our lives to teach these young people. They have so much to teach us. I think this is where the greatest learning and the greatest teaching occurs.
Jennifer was my younger sister, and when she passed away, they were in Children's Aid, and Children's Aid approached me because they didn't want to separate the children. Well, Jeffrey was 4 years old and Anne was 6. I felt that I would rather have the children here than have them go anywhere else. My daughter was a teenager at the time. The older children had already gone. Grandchildren, yeah, they get along good with Jeffrey. He plays with them a lot. Well, he's come a long way. He's very athletic now. He's altogether a different boy than when he first came here. Well, they did tell me that he was born with the alcohol syndrome because his mother was drinking quite a bit when she was pregnant with him. But I didn't know at the time when he first came here. He had difficulty walking. He was cross-eyed, but he had that fixed before he came here. And I took him to the hospital, and that is when they had fixed the palate in the roof of his mouth. I took him to the physiotherapy twice a week. They would work with his legs and his motor skills. After that, I found out he couldn't ride a tricycle. So him and I would sit on a porch, and I would work his legs. I had him riding his tricycle in no time. Well, he acts like a regular teenager sometimes, and then other times he'll be childlike. He is gullible. He likes to do what other children do or other young adults do. He has different mood swings. Like she said, he had so much trouble sitting still and trying to work with the class, learning. Jeffrey wants to do everything. He still does. And he can't sit and do one thing. His attention span is so short that he'll be doing something, and he forgets what he's doing, and he'll want to be doing something else. I told Anne that she had to get an education, so when I'm not around, if Jeffrey needs her to look after him, then she'll be there.
For something that can be so preventable, I guess my message is to really think hard and long about decisions around alcohol and drugs.
To not drink alcohol during pregnancy.
There's enough dangers in the world without self-inflicting pain.
Staying away from the alcohol is a poison to our system.
You can stop it right here.
The gift of motherhood is a gift from our Creator.
Plan that 12-month pregnancy where you stay away from alcohol and drugs, then, before you get pregnant.
You're not alone, that there is help available in your communities. We want you to have a healthy baby just like you do, and there's no guilt and shame in talking about it and getting that help.
Not to drink because it's going to have an effect on the child.
I say you shouldn't drink because your baby would have problems like FAS, like fetal alcohol syndrome.
Stand by their child and work with them. Do what you can for them.
When they're kids, they're innocent people. And as parents, we're the one who teach them, the kind of life that we want them to have. And we're the role models. So as a role model to my daughter, I think she did pretty good because there is no alcohol in her house either.